Welcome back, everybody, to How to Become a Freelancer in 30 Days. This is Anthony Chatfield, and you are watching Day 4. Today, we're going to talk about practicing your work and how to build experience and comfort even before your first project. The goal today is to start talking about how to build out your portfolio and to have examples when somebody asks you if you've done this type of work before. One of the major drawbacks of being a freelancer, especially when you're just getting started, is that you maybe don't have the exact specific experience someone is looking for in the industry or with the type of content or product that you're working on. Ideally you have an underlying set of skills that make it possible for you to do this, but having examples is going to make it so much easier down the road to actually land a project and to do it successfully that it's worth investing time upfront into building out a portfolio and showing that you know what you're doing. All right, so today's goals are going to be to identify and create 2 to 3 good practice opportunities that help you towards your goals. And we'll talk about what those are in a couple minutes. We're going to better identify who your target client and project are. And then we're going to create at least one piece of content that can go in your portfolio, even if you're not getting paid for it. And just a note on that real quick, if you have existing contents, whether it's something you've done at work or something you've done in your free time, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So you don't necessarily need to create stuff from scratch. Today is more about thinking of what you might already have and then drawing it all together so you have access to it when somebody asks for samples. All right. So today what we're going to be talking about a little bit here is filling a need and thinking about the kind of stuff that people need and how you can fulfill on that. So if you're going to create content from scratch for your portfolio, hopefully you've already been thinking about this, who do you want to work for? What industry? What problems? What personas? But now, what's the need of those people? What type of content are they most likely to need? For example, in the past, I worked with entrepreneurs and startups and website owners who frequently needed website content. They needed content for Google's algorithm. They needed content for just new pages they wanted to build out. They needed stuff on their website. So I specialized in SEO content, and I specialized in ebooks and reports, a lot of the times for internet marketers. And later on, more so for businesses, towards the end of my career, as B2B content marketing became more effective as a strategy. So think about who your ideal client is, and then start evaluating what those people need and want. So take notes in an easy-to-access place so you can change them. Use your Evernote, use your Day One, use whatever tool you decided to use for taking notes, and jot down what you think people want. Take a look at their websites, see what they have that's good, see what they have that's bad. Don't assume just because something's bad that they need it. They might need it, but they may not realize they need it. And it's a lot easier to fulfill a need if somebody's already looking than to try to generate that need from scratch. We also want to avoid things that they might just want. The nice to have stuff is, it might happen eventually, but that's not the kind of thing someone's going to urgently come to you with and need immediately and be willing to pay whatever it costs to get done. The type of stuff that people need urgently is, hey, Google just sent me a notice that my website's being penalized because I don't have enough content on my pages. Oh, crud. Please, please, please fill out those pages as quickly as you can. That's the kind of stuff you need to do. So there's a lot of work to be done there, but generally speaking, in any field, regardless of what your skill is, there's a lot of opportunity as well. All right, and then make a list of things your future clients need from you. As for the type of content you can create that will fulfill those needs, talked about this a little bit. There's website content, ebooks and reports, press releases, and I'm talking about writing now, of course. But there's a lot of other things you can do as well, depending on what your background is. So if you are in design and development, you can look into creating WordPress plugins, which is a very common need. WordPress templates, graphics that can be reused, infographic templates, those kinds of things. Even if it's not something that a client needs from you immediately, is something that people do need down the line, and putting it in your portfolio will definitely show that you're capable of creating what they need. Now, to some degree, there's a benefit to creating things just for the sake of creating. When I first got started, right out of college, I was working in a deli at the time, and I decided to only work 2 days a week. I was going to go down to 2 days a week and spend the other 5 days, and I was working 7 days at that point trying to make this happen. I spent the other 5 days just doing stuff. I didn't have any freelance contracts. I wasn't making any money, but I spent 5 to 7 hours a day just writing because I wanted to be a freelance writer. So I had a blog. I was posting 3-4 times a day. I started posting to sites like Associated Content, which later became Yahoo's public user forum, and they paid like $3 or $4 per article. I started posting to all these little places that paid like almost nothing. Like I was losing money on it, but I was getting practice. I was writing stuff. I was putting it out there. I was getting more confident in showing my work to people. And that really helped me so that when I went on Elance and started bidding on real projects, not only did I have a portfolio of stuff that I've been doing for like a month, but I was more confident in my ability to say, yes, I can write these articles for you. I've done it before. It may not have been for a client, but I wrote a lot of articles. So there's a lot of benefit to practicing, even if it's not something you're going to get paid for right away. It just helps you build up that confidence and have the background and show that you know how to do these things. Some examples of stuff you can do in your free time. You can blog. Blogging is the easiest thing to do, regardless of your skill set. This is a great way to show your knowledge base. You can create infographics, website templates, response pieces on social media. So anything on social media actually is great because that's a great place to show, the articles you share, the comments you leave, the responses you give to other people's news. That's the stuff that people are going to look at and say, hey, this person really knows their stuff. And then apps or web apps that solve specific problems. Plugins, again, is something I mentioned, but a specific tiny piece of code that solves a specific problem is a great way to show not only your problem-solving ability, but your ability to create applications in that environment. All right. And then the end goal here, all of the purpose of all of this is to build a self-selling background. None of us like to be a salesperson. It's not fun. I used to avoid being on the phone for years, honestly. I would only do email. I would ignore people who tried to call me, and it did not help my business very much. I had to eventually push myself off of a ledge to get on the phone with anybody. And now today, I work full-time on the phone almost 4 out of every 8 hours. So it helps to build a background that's going to sell for you. So when people see a strong portfolio, carefully manicured Google results, which is something we'll talk about later on, you're going to become a must-hire for anybody who can afford you. They're going to look you up. They're going to see that you're everywhere. They're going to see that other people trust you with their work, and they're going to want to hire you as long as it's within their budget. You're creating scarcity. You're developing a following in the long term, and you're generating opportunities for passive income. And this is something else we'll talk about later. One of the major benefits of freelancing is that you can use those skills you're developing to do all sorts of cool stuff that will turn into income down the line. Whether it's an ebook that you put on Kindle that generates income over and over again, or a course just like this one on Udemy that will allow you to make money from something you've only did once. That's the end goal. I mean, freelancing is a chance to take your income into your own hands. That's going to be the next step, and we'll talk about that a bit more down the line. All right, so last but not least, today's actions. I want you to create a project brief for an imaginary client. So what's your ideal client? What's your ideal project? Now, how would you approach that? Write a bid for it, just so you can get into that mindset. Outline and create a project you can complete in one day. So whether it's a blog post or a small, tiny snippet of code or a graphic that you might create, whatever it is, something you can put together today in your free time. And then connect with other creators on Warrior Forum or Elance's Water Cooler or any of the other forums out there. Just start talking to people who are doing what you do and who are interested in what you do. One of the coolest things when I first got started, I was on the Associated Content forums, and people were talking about how much money they make and how to become a freelancer and all these things. And one person had posted their story of how they got from, just starting on Associated Content to making over $50,000 a year. And at the time, 4 months out of college, this was mind-blowing to me. I made that my goal right then and there, that I would hit that point. And 2 years later, I had and went well beyond that. And I always think back to that forum post and how that person whose success story seemed so out of reach at that point really pushed me to try things I would have tried before. All right, and then last but not least, take notes while you work so you can improve. This is something I've always done, is just write down what I did for the day, not in a to-do list, kind of an anti-to-do list, something that just records all the cool stuff you did in a day, whether it was successful or not, and that way you can go back and see how you spent your time and how effective it was in the future. All right, so that's everything for today. Make sure you leave any comments or questions here with this particular lesson. And as a whole, make sure you rate the course when you have gone through everything. And please, please, please send me your feedback. Appreciate it. I will talk to you tomorrow.